World building. So easy, a baby could do it. And if we're talking about Earth's world building, I've never hid the fact that I think Earth's world building is actual garbage. Sloppy. Downright convoluted. But what if it wasn't? That's right, today we're finally gonna fix this awful project. Okay, let's start by fixing Earth itself. I'm not digging this shape. Let's see if we can, there we go. Now look at the countries. Why is there only one Latvia? That's an easy fix. I dig how Chile's pretty long, but it could be longer. And this, what if it was an island? I'm thinking we could maybe just push this someplace else. On the subject of geography, how are the oceans? Oh, good. They're a nightmare. I'm proposing we just fill this part in. No reason for them to be so deep, it's creepy. Now mountains have the opposite problem. We could honestly go way taller. Let's get these numbers up. And rivers are just right, actually. They're getting a sticker, and a trophy, and a little lollipop. I'm less fond of what actually lives on Earth's surface, because whoever was in charge of balancing species was clearly fired halfway through the project's development. Some animals have insane stats, and some don't. Also, seriously, what are these hitboxes? Like, come on. Now there is some decent creativity in a few species' designs, but other species might be a tad too creative. Look at that neck. We can fix this. They're way more realistic looking. And why does this mammal have a bill? Alright, just gotta... there we go. Also, while I do kind of like the camel, how come the 2-hump camel is slightly shorter than the 1-hump? It should be twice as big, surely. And there's no reason to stop there. Earth devs, you can send my check in the mail. But no species needs fixing more than the creator's overpowered OCs, humans. How exactly did these things take over the planet? Like, I know there are supposed explanations in the lore, but I just don't find them convincing. If the devs really want us to believe humans are top dog, their bodies will need some upgrades. Okay, how about some mandibles? And an armored keratinous claw for defense. I'm not impressed by their range of vision either, so stalk eyes are the obvious solution. Nice independent motion. If humans want to keep swimming, let's add fins for advanced underwater steering. They're already trying to spit in the face of evolution anyway. Finally, even their land speed could use some work. 2 legs just aren't gonna cut it. Not again! But humans don't just break the lore, they also break Earth's balancing by creating weird doohickeys that are not only overpowered, but wildly overcomplicated. Just look at the inside of a car. We can streamline this nightmare. Obviously, it needs a simpler power source. Have this little guy turn a wheel, connect some wires to it or whatever, boom, science. What about a computer? How did these apes trick a rock into thinking, you ask? It's simple. First they took a single crystal semiconducting material, then gradually etched electronic circuits onto a wafer to transport oxygen to the internal nitrogen atmosphere. Right, computers are a nightmare. But on the flip side, some inventions are disappointingly simple. What's inside a tennis ball? Nothing. Well, that's a missed opportunity. It could have a nice nougat filling. Speaking of food, let's talk cuisine. To be honest, Earth has some okay stuff in this department, but we could take it further. What do you say we build a sandwich together? Now, according to my research, humans need to eat around 100 million calories over their lifetime. Conversely, a single gram of radioactive plutonium has a caloric value of around 20 billion. I think the path forward is obvious, but we want a balanced meal. Humans need fiber, beans are an ideal source. The immune system craves iron? That won't be a problem. And finally, we need a tasty garnish. How about a little salt, aka sodium chloride? I don't feel like combining them. And there we go, a sandwich I guarantee would last a lifetime. But even with good food, human lifespans are way too short for being such major characters. This is a big reason why the Earth storyline is an all-time disaster, but it's hardly the only reason. Once again, serious edits are gonna be required. Starting from the beginning, for the first billion years, life hasn't even shown up yet. That's something to cut. And the early microbe story arc that follows is pretty weak. Cut that too. My pitch is we start with the Cambrian explosion arc. That's where things start to get interesting anyway. Then we skip the next 2 mass extinctions so that fan favorites like the trilobites can hang out with the dinosaurs. And while the Reign of the Dinosaurs arc is admittedly Earth's best, I think we can all agree it has a pretty crap ending. Whoever pitched the asteroid plotline needs to be fired. Like, even fans of this project are disappointed in how it wrapped up. If they were going to do an extinction plotline, the dinosaurs and the asteroid needed a final 1v1 battle. But honestly, I think the dinosaurs should have just stuck around. Either way, the current Rise of the Humans arc is easily the most controversial of all. Right away, all this war and plague, I don't think we need this. But getting into specifics, it's got like a trillion subplots and none of them truly hang together. So let's fix that. First, during the Rome v Carthage subplot, there's the unrealistic plot point of this guy Hannibal marching a bunch of elephants over the Alps, which is crazy on its own. But then, Hannibal did get fairly close to taking the city of Rome before his defeat. You could call him Rome's arch enemy. But then, when Rome finally does fall, it's over 600 years later and mainly due to internal corruption, with a side helping of toxic dishware. Where's the narrative satisfaction? Hannibal definitely should have been brought back for the finale. The ending of Galileo's arc feels equally random. After the guy realized the Earth goes around the sun, the Roman Inquisition put him on trial, and you'd think next would be the part where Galileo trains up in secret to defeat the Inquisition, but no, he just gives in and later died of a random illness. I think we can all agree how it should have ended. Overall, the devs of the Earth project are pretty good at building things up, but are just atrocious at follow-through. I'm sure longtime fans can remember how insane the excitement was during the space race plotline. Hype was off the charts, everyone was tuning in for the season finale, and then humans at last landed on the moon and just found a bunch of rocks. The writers should have just given us what we all wanted. All in all, Earth's writing clearly needs an overhaul. But you know what else needs an overhaul? Earth's, writing. Most fictional languages in this setting are confusing, but none more so than English. But as always, I've got some ideas. Any letters that look too similar will no longer be looking similar. Any letters with overlapping sounds are out of here. And vowels get to be 3 times bigger for their hard work. Y gets a participation trophy. Beyond letters, English could also use some new words, like flaw, a word for when it's 9 in the morning, you haven't had your coffee, and someone is very excitedly telling you about the blockchain. Or, for when you're speaking with a longtime friend and realize slowly that you've become strangers to each other. Or how about for when you look in the mirror and find that despite standing still, time has passed anyways. Or for when you see a large rat. But words are only half an annoyance. There's also numbers. Numbers everywhere. And honestly, I'm bored of them too. So we're adding another number to the base 10. It's gonna go right here. Snevin. This is gonna streamline a lot of things. I'm not taking questions. Also, there's no reason for pi to have so many digits. 3.14 is plenty already. Better yet, all circles can be just 3. What's that? That's not how math works? Well, take the 3.14 circle and make it slightly smaller. Checkmate. Oh, and if we're talking checkmate, Earth games, whether played on a board, a field, or a very serious table, are somewhat exciting, yet the ante can always be upped. Most sports have an out of bounds, but what happens when you go out of bounds? Usually a whole lot of nothing. So I'm thinking sharks on one side and sharks on the other. A lot of competitions also haven't received updates for centuries, which is just lazy at this point. I think checkers could be improved if players were allowed to set up fortifications and perilous traps. Same thing with baseball. Finally, I think chess could use some fresh pieces. I'm proposing the Kraken, who has an ink-based attack, the Farmer, who can harvest resources for a player in lieu of a turn, and of course, the slightly longer Bishop, whose value I feel is pretty self-explanatory. The average sports jersey could also use an overhaul, but that's getting into a different problem: fashion. As usual, we've got some neat ideas here, and also some pretty basic problems we could solve. Ever put on pants, but they're too short? Introducing Mants. Just cut off whatever you don't want. With this overhaul, people will be their own tailors. Rebels that say no to limits. and say yes to hats tall enough to store all their personal belongings underneath. Finally, if humans are willing to buy pre-torn jeans, why not purchase a plain white t-shirt with various unidentifiable stains? This is what fashion would look like if world builders weren't cowards. So fashion is an art, but you know what else is an art? Art is an art. Earth has a lot of art, and like most things in the setting, it could use some refurbishing. The scream. What's this guy even screaming at? Well, I know how to clear things up. The Mona Lisa is one of the most famous paintings in this world, and yet it's still debated if the subject is happy or sad. We can fix this. There, now it's obvious. Okay, what else should we touch up? I mean, I don't really like green apples. Oh, I know. Now, not to get too conspiratorial, but did you know Dan Brown was right? There is something missing from Da Vinci's The Last Supper. There. Alright, now getting into the big stuff. A lot of Earth art has these illusion effects that are basically magic. A lot of Earth technology is also basically magic. But as we know, Earth stubbornly refuses to have a true magic system. A proper structure of spells might be the most requested feature ever from fans of this project, and yet the devs still haven't added one. Which is crazy, because Earth already has the perfect scaffolding for such a system. The current lore is this project and the larger universe it resides in has 4 fundamental forces: gravity, electromagnetism, weak nuclear force, and strong nuclear force. So obviously, I'm pitching that all Earth mages should be assigned to one of these 4 schools of magic. Gravity wielders could levitate objects and hurl them at people, or increase someone's mass to the point where they can't stand, or decrease their own mass to the point where they could sort of fly. Pretty self-explanatory. Electromagnetism already doesn't just influence things that are metallic, but also influences things like light waves, radio waves, and X-rays. So the potential for spells is endless there. Weak nuclear force, okay, this one doesn't have the best name, but it is responsible for radioactive decay. Oh, and nuclear fusion within stars. So that one's also ready to go. You just need to rebrand that baby. And at last, strong nuclear force is what holds atomic nuclei together. Imagine you're in a fight with a wizard, and instead of saying abracadabra, they just disassemble all your atoms. Now that is a sweet magic system. Right now, the closest thing Earth has to proper magic are the elements. And as I've complained before, the modern elemental system update is a mess. Gold is an element. Silver is an element. Bronze isn't an element. It's a compound. Why do this to us? Why are like half the elements some variation on the gas that causes you to die? Why is fire not an element? Or earth, water, or air? Now, one could counter that the Western 4-element system is too simple, but there are ways around this. We just gotta take a page out of RPGs and add some sub-elements like lava, ice, lightning, ooze, caramel, things that kind of straddle the line between believable extensions of the classic 4 and total bullshit. Combining this elemental system with the new fundamental forces magic would, in my opinion, nicely establish Earth options for spells. Now all the project needs is some dragons. On that note, we could definitely use some more mythical beasts in this setting. I mean, I guess it's got a couple, but there's plenty room for more. Now, some might say this would contradict the developer's vision by being unrealistic, but I say, look me in the eye and tell me a unicorn would feel out of place in this setting, considering what's already here. Also, can we get some more magic humanoids? Where are the elves? The gnomes? Right now, there's only one type of human, Homo sapiens. There were some others, like the Neanderthal and hobbits, apparently, but then they got removed. Could we add those back? We could even dovetail mythical creatures with Earth's new magic system. Picture an electromagnetic dragon, or a nuclear phoenix, and tell me this isn't a good idea. Of course, adding magic will drastically change things, but I'd argue for the better. Imagine the new doors that could be opened up in a category like architecture. Even without wizards, humans have managed to build some pretty impressive stuff. But what if skyscrapers actually scraped the sky? What if we just stacked all a city's skyscrapers to save space? We could do the same thing to the suburbs. Think of all that extra room. If gravity isn't a concern, the possibilities are endless. But there are also some easy architecture fixes that don't even require anti-gravity magic. For example, we don't need 3 types of classical columns, because Ionic is obviously the best. This isn't a debate. Indeed, there's still a few miscellaneous world-building improvements to make that are quite simple, like in the case of music. Earth unquestionably has some pretty banger tunes, and with an official soundtrack of over 230 million songs, you'd certainly hope they would. But on the flip side, there's some pieces of musical perfection that have been largely forgotten. For example, Tchaikovsky requested his 1812 overture end with a volley of live cannon fire, and honestly, I think he was onto something. What if every song had its own explosive bass? Think of the acoustic possibilities. There we go. The more cannons, the better. Honestly, why stop at cannons? The natural world creates so many unique sounds that could be layered on top of songs. And what about the theremin? The theremin. The people weren't ready for its brilliance. That's music to my ears. And what's music without a little dance? So many wonderful ways to move those bodies. But you know what's missing from most forms of dance? A real present sense of danger. For the sake of comparison, if a worker bee can't dance properly, it will be exiled from the hive forever. I don't actually know that that's true, but we're rewriting the rules here anyway. So I propose that at any given moment, whoever dances the most obnoxiously will be made to listen to the theremin. I think this will really encourage people to bring their A game and respect personal space. I'd also like to see some dance moves that break the mold a bit more. So part 2 of this pitch is that humans should be able to drastically alter their size at will and incorporate that into their dance routine. This would really open things up. And speaking of opening things up, let's round off these miscellaneous gripes with a desperately needed overhaul of emotions. These are some of the worst written aspects of the Earth project. Why does returning to a place you used to love fill one with a strange kind of numbness? Shouldn't it just be a source of good memories? Why isn't something that's funny one time funny forever? Why make it so that jokes get stale? Or for that matter, that songs get old? Or food gets dissatisfying? Why can't everything feel exactly like how it felt the first time? From a realism perspective, I'm not sure what sense it makes for a project to be this full of discomforts, both large and small. I mean, who could put up with this 24/7? So I propose we push things further still. Why force ourselves to try and fix the developers' mistakes when we could just start fresh? Even the core of Old Earth is a letdown. Talk about wasted space. Why is so much of it hot nickel? So for the new Earth, we're hollowing it out, and it's also going to be filled with nougat. And Earth 2 will be twice as big, with twice as many scenic vistas, 1,000 times as many waterfalls, and 1 billion times less mosquitoes. From there, we could make all the animals perfectly balanced, but again, why fix existing animals when we could just start mashing shit together? Picture a shark, but with legs. Imagine how majestic that would be. How about a baboon goose? The possibilities are endless, and in this new world, society will run like clockwork. People will always use their turn signal, and always return their shopping cart, and April Fool's Day videos will always drop 5 months late, and everyone will always be feeling good, no matter what they're doing. No bad vibes. No grieving for what is lost either, which arguably means the connections people form will be fundamentally less meaningful. But that's fine, because people won't know what they're missing. Everything will be wonderful, anything someone desires will come into being, and no one will ever have to grow or change, because what would be the point? Everyone can just be flipping the f*** out all the time, 24/7, with no repercussions. This is how we fix the world. It's easy, it's simple, it's... Ugh. But starting completely over, that sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Well, maybe we could just repair one small thing, like offering a hand to someone who needs it, or checking in on someone we've been meaning to speak to, or even taking a moment for oneself. That too could be a kind of fixing. Or we could add another A to the word Earth so that it becomes Earth. Yeah, okay, now it's fixed. So, I have a major confession. I think some parts of Earth are actually pretty neat. I know, it's shocking, but there are elements of world building on this planet that feel ripped straight from sci-fi fantasy. Sailing stones, glowing beaches, waterfalls of blood, translucent frogs. If you are at all interested in world building, there are parts of Earth that you need to hear about. And you can hear about them in a full second video I made on my favorite parts of Earth's world building, available right now exclusively on Nebula. But is one video all you get for signing up to Nebula, you ask? Well, no, that would be really weird. You can also watch a video I made on how to survive first contact with aliens, a video on the mythological history of humans riding dragons, a video on the species most likely to build a civilization come the apocalypse. I've got one on joyful gods, I've got one on Rain World, I've got one on Kelpies. In short, there are a ton of exclusive Curious Archive videos available on Nebula, and by using my link on screen or in the description, you can get a full 40% off a year's subscription to Nebula. That's just $3 a month for every one of my extra videos and all my regular videos 24 hours early and ad-free. Oh, and I might have forgotten to mention that there are also hundreds of other incredible creators uploading their own early and exclusive videos to Nebula that this deal also gives you full access to. There are new episodes of Jetlag the Game, early Tier Zoo videos. Jacob Geller, much like myself, is dropping bonus videos every time he makes a regular upload. Nebula is hugely important to these creators and to myself, enabling us to keep making stuff right here for you to enjoy. So if you want to support the channel, this is the best way to do it. Also, if the monthly subscription model just isn't your thing, you can instead get a lifetime of Nebula access for one payment of $300, with no expiration date or limitations. And after you've caught my video about the best parts of Earth's world building, and trust me, there's a lot to cover, my current recommendation is you check out Lindsay Ellis's new stuff, because her Nebula videos are just so in-depth. And as I always like to remind people, if you want to share these videos with friends or family, each Nebula subscriber automatically gets free week-long Nebula guest passes so that whoever you like can watch literally anything they want. And that's the Nebula pitch. 40% off exclusive, early, and ad-free videos. The link is in the description and also here on the screen. And yeah, okay, that is Nebula. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this entry, consider lending your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon to stay up to date on all things curious. See you in the next video.